I want you to picture something. You're sitting across from a woman. Maybe it's a date. Maybe it's a conversation at a party. Maybe it's your girlfriend of 3 years. And she says something that sounds confident. Something that sounds like a complete thought. And you nod along because that's what you do. But then 5 minutes later, she says something else. Something that directly contradicts what she just said. And she doesn't notice. She doesn't flinch. She delivers both statements with equal conviction, as if they're not mutually exclusive, as if logic is a buffet where you can take what you want and leave the rest. And you sit there blinking, trying to reconcile two things that cannot be reconciled. Your brain hurts. You feel like you're taking crazy pills. You start to wonder if you misheard something, but no, you heard correctly. She just said two completely incompatible things and moved on like nothing happened. And if you point it out, if you gently, carefully, diplomatically mention the contradiction, she looks at you like you're the problem, like you're being difficult, like your insistence on basic logical consistency is somehow aggressive. Today, we're going to talk about something that men experience constantly, but rarely discuss openly. The logic, and I'm using that term loosely, that women employ in relationships, in dating, in life decisions, in conversations about gender and fairness. Logic that doesn't follow rules. Logic that contradicts itself mid-sentence. Logic that would fail a basic philosophy exam, but somehow runs the operating system of modern relationships. This isn't about intelligence. Some of the smartest women I know are capable of breathtaking logical inconsistency when it serves them emotionally. This is about a different relationship to reasoning, one where conclusions come first and justifications follow, where feelings determine truth, where consistency is optional if it conflicts with what she wants to believe in this particular moment. Let's start with relationship desires because this is where the contradictions are most visible. She wants companionship. Deep, meaningful, consistent companionship. Someone who's there. Someone who shows up. Someone who makes her feel like she's not alone in the world. Okay, understandable human. So far, so logical. But she also doesn't want commitment. Commitment is scary. Commitment is limiting. Commitment means she can't keep her options open. Commitment means she has to actually choose. And choosing means losing all the things she didn't choose. So she wants the companionship without the commitment. She wants the boyfriend experience from someone who isn't quite her boyfriend. She wants to feel chosen while refusing to choose. You point this out gently, and she explains that it's about being in the moment and not putting labels on things and letting it develop naturally, which sounds reasonable until you realize that naturally means he's committed to her while she's committed to nothing. She gets the emotional security, he gets the uncertainty, and if he asks for clarity, he's pressuring her. If he pulls back, he's not emotionally available. The game is rigged. The only winning move is to give her everything while expecting nothing in return. But wait, she also wants exclusivity. She doesn't want him seeing other women. That would be disrespectful. That would mean she's not special. That would mean he's not serious about whatever this undefined thing is. So let me understand. She won't commit to him. She won't define the relationship. She won't give him any security about the future. But he's supposed to act like they're in a committed relationship while she acts like they're not. His loyalty is required. Hers is optional. And she'll explain this with complete confidence. She'll tell you that it's about energy and vibes and where she is right now. She'll use words that sound like explanations but explain nothing. And if you try to apply basic logical analysis, if you point out that wanting exclusivity while rejecting commitment is a contradiction, she'll accuse you of being too logical, as if logic is a character flaw, as if making sense is something you should apologize for. Here's another one. She wants emotional availability on demand. When she's upset, she wants him there, listening, supporting, present, and he should know when she needs this without her having to ask. Because if she has to ask, it doesn't count. Mind reading is the baseline expectation. But when he's upset, when he needs support, well, that's different. That's emotional labor she didn't sign up for. That's him being too needy. That's him not handling his own stuff. His emotional availability should be unlimited. Hers should be optional and celebrated when it occasionally appears. His support is expected. Her support is a gift. Same relationship, completely different rules depending on the direction. And let me talk about how women frame casual relationships, because the mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. She doesn't want marriage. Marriage is outdated. Marriage is a trap. Marriage is just a piece of paper. She's too evolved for that. She's about connection, not contracts. She's about love, not legal obligations. Fine, that's a position. You can hold that position. 9. But she also doesn't want to be alone. Being alone is terrifying. Being alone means she failed somehow. Being alone means late nights with nobody to text and weekends with nobody to brunch with. So she wants a relationship, just not a married relationship. A relationship with all the benefits of marriage: emotional support, regular companionship, someone to split holidays with, but none of the commitment. A marriage-flavored situationship. And here's where it gets truly impressive. She'll frame this as morally superior. She'll tell you that casual arrangements are healthier because there's less pressure. That avoiding commitment is actually more mature because it's honest about how people really are. That she's not rejecting stability. She's evolving past the need for external validation. She's turned her inability to commit into a philosophy. She's made her avoidance into wisdom. But somehow, she still expects long-term benefits from these short-term arrangements. She expects him to be around in a year. She expects him to prioritize her over other women. She expects him to show up when her car breaks down or she's sick, or she needs someone to help her move. She expects relationship results from non-relationship inputs. And when he eventually gets tired of giving girlfriend benefits to a non-girlfriend, when he decides to actually date someone willing to commit, she's shocked, betrayed. I thought we had something. You did. You had something you refused to name, define, or commit to, and now you don't. Let me talk about emotional reasoning, because this is the engine that powers all the contradictions. Logical reasoning works like this. Premises lead to conclusions. If A and B, then C. The conclusion follows from the facts. You don't get to choose the conclusion based on how you feel about it. Emotional reasoning works differently. The conclusion comes first. She feels something, therefore it's true. Then reasoning works backward to justify what she already decided. The premises are selected, filtered, and rearranged to support the predetermined conclusion. Facts that contradict the feeling are dismissed as not the whole picture, or missing the point, or technically true, but emotionally irrelevant. Watch how this plays out in relationships. She feels differently about him now than she did a year ago. The feeling is real. She can't deny the feeling. So, she needs to explain the feeling in a way that doesn't make her look bad. She can't say, "I got bored," or "I found someone I like better," or "My feelings just changed for no particular reason." Those explanations are too honest. They don't have a narrative. So she constructs a story. She's grown as a person. She's discovered who she really is. She's on a journey of self-actualization that requires her to be alone right now. The leaving isn't abandonment, it's evolution. The changing feelings aren't fickleness, they're personal development. The breakdown of commitment isn't failure, it's brave. She's rewritten emotional instability as a hero's journey with herself, as the protagonist finally escaping whatever limitation you represented. And the beautiful part, she believes it. She's not consciously lying. She's constructed a narrative that protects her self-image. And she's living inside that narrative. Now the story is psychologically necessary. So the story becomes psychologically true. You try to point out the timeline doesn't make sense. That her personal growth conveniently requires leaving right when things got hard. And she looks at you with genuine confusion. You're not arguing with a debater. You're arguing with someone whose brain has already rearranged reality to make her the good guy. Let me talk about risk framing in dating, because the asymmetry here is breathtaking. Listen to women talk about dating and you'll hear about danger constantly. Dating is dangerous for women. Meeting strangers is risky. Men are threats until proven otherwise. Women are uniquely vulnerable in romantic contexts. They could be assaulted. They could be stalked. They could be killed. This is real. I'm not dismissing it. Women do face certain risks that men don't face to the same degree. But watch what happens when you mention male risks. Financial devastation in divorce. That's what you get for not having a prenup. Paternity fraud. Shouldn't have trusted her. False accusations rarely happens. And if it does, you probably did something. Emotional manipulation. Man up. Decades of child support for children that might not be yours. Should have kept it in your pants. The risks women face are treated as systemic problems requiring male behavior change. The risks men face are treated as personal failures requiring male accountability. She's a victim of circumstance. He's an architect of his own destruction. Her risks demand societal solutions. His risks demand individual responsibility. The framing is perfectly asymmetric, and she'll deliver it without noticing the double standard, because recognizing the double standard would require acknowledging that men have legitimate concerns, and that acknowledgement doesn't fit the narrative. Same woman will lecture you about male privilege while describing her dating strategy, which consists entirely of men paying for everything while she decides if they're worthy. She'll complain about objectification while posting thirst traps designed to generate the exact attention she claims to reject. She'll demand respect while offering none. And if you point out the contradiction, if you suggest perhaps that equality might work in both directions, you're defensive. You're fragile. You're missing the point. Let me talk about social freedom double standards, because this is where the hypocrisy becomes almost comedic. She goes to the club with her girls. It's self-care, it's bonding, it's necessary for her mental health. She dresses provocatively because she wants to feel confident, not because she's seeking attention, even though the confidence apparently requires male attention to activate. She dances, she drinks, she posts stories, she exists in an environment specifically designed for sexual display and mate selection. And this is all perfectly fine. This is healthy. This is a woman living her best life. He goes to the club with his boys. He's immature. He's irresponsible. He's probably cheating, or at least trying to. Why does he need to be in environments with other women? What's he looking for that he can't find at home? His presence in the same spaces she frequents freely is evidence of character failure. Her presence is empowerment. His is degeneracy. She'll explain this with complete confidence. When women go out, it's about friendship and fun. When men go out, it's about pursuit and conquest. Her motives are pure. Here's a suspect. She's dancing for herself. He's looking for something. The exact same activity in the exact same location becomes morally different based entirely on gender. And she doesn't see the contradiction because she's never had to defend it. No one challenges her on it. So the belief sits there unchallenged like a load-bearing wall made of tissue paper. And don't get me started on provocative presentation while in relationships. She posts a bikini photo. He expresses discomfort and suddenly he's insecure, controlling, probably abusive. Her desire for validation from thousands of men is healthy self-expression. His desire for boundaries is toxic possessiveness. She'll tell you that what she posts has nothing to do with fidelity, that external validation and relationship commitment are completely separate things, that his discomfort is his problem to manage internally. She can collect desire from the entire internet. But if he even looks at another woman's Instagram, that's disrespectful. His attention is exclusively hers. Her attention is distributed globally. Same relationship, completely different rules. And she'll articulate this without a trace of self-awareness, because self-awareness would require applying the same standard to herself that she applies to him. Let me address the gendered division of purpose, because this one is especially wild. Men, according to modern discourse, exist to provide and labor. A man's worth is measured by his usefulness. What does he bring to the table? What can he build, earn, fix, support? Men are tools, sophisticated tools, but tools nonetheless. Their purpose is function. Women, according to the same discourse, exist for self-actualization. A woman's worth is inherent. She doesn't need to prove anything. She deserves enjoyment, exploration, experience. Her purpose is fulfillment. Work is optional. Career is a choice, not an obligation. She can pursue whatever makes her happy because happiness is her birthright. Now watch these two frameworks operate simultaneously. He should work hard because that's what men do. She should work if she wants to, But also it's totally valid if she doesn't want to, because women shouldn't be defined by productivity. His labor is expected. Hers is celebrated when it appears. He's judged by output. She's judged by existence. And somehow, this is presented as equality, as progress, as the correction of historical injustice. Men working themselves to death while women find themselves is framed as women finally getting what they deserve. The asymmetry isn't noticed because noticing it would require valuing male experience. And male experience in this framework doesn't actually matter. It's just the backdrop against which female fulfillment occurs. Let me talk about financial dependency as strategy, because some women don't even pretend anymore. I've heard women say out loud in public that their plan is to move from their father's house to their husband's house, that education is unnecessary because they're going to be supported, that career preparation is for women who can't get a man, that financial dependency is actually the smart move because why would you work if you don't have to? And then, and this is the amazing part, they'll describe this as empowerment. Yes, empowerment. They've empowered themselves to not work. They've empowered themselves to be completely dependent on someone else for every material need. They've empowered themselves into a position where they have no options, no leverage, no ability to survive independently. That's power, apparently. Being unable to support yourself is strength. Needing a man is feminism. We've redefined words until they mean the opposite of what they used to mean. Meanwhile, if a man said he planned to be financially dependent on his wife, he'd be called a loser, a leech, a man-child who can't get his act together. The exact same life strategy as empowerment for her and failure for him. Same behavior, opposite judgments, and she'll defend both positions. Her right to be dependent and his obligation to be a provider in the same conversation, without noticing that she's describing two different sets of rules for the same game. Let me talk about money as the relationship metric because this is where things get honest, in a way that makes everyone uncomfortable. Listen carefully to how women talk about men. Not what they say they value, what they actually respond to. A man gets a promotion, and suddenly she's more affectionate. A man loses his job and suddenly she's re-evaluating. A man's net worth rises and her emotional attachment rises with it. A man's financial situation declines, and somehow her feelings change. She'll never admit this is transactional. She'll wrap it in emotional language. She didn't leave because he was broke. She left because his ambition disappeared, or he became a different person, or they were going in different directions. The financial trigger gets translated into emotional narrative. But the correlation is unmistakable. His value in her eyes tracks his income like a stock price. When the stock is up, she's buying. When it's down, she's looking for the exit. And here's what kills me. The same woman will insist she doesn't care about money. Money isn't important to her. She's not materialistic. She cares about connection, compatibility, chemistry. But somehow all her serious relationships have been with men who earn well. Somehow all her breakups correlated with financial downturns. Somehow her connection only ignites with men who can afford to trigger it. The mouth says one thing, the pattern says another. And she doesn't see the contradiction because seeing it would require admitting something unflattering about herself. Let me talk about the redefinition of 50-50, because this is where language gets weaponized. Equality, she'll tell you, means 50-50, fair even. Both people contributing equally. This sounds reasonable. This sounds progressive. This is the kind of thing that polls well. Now watch how 50-50 gets applied. He works 50 hours a week, she works 30. That's 50-50 because her 30 hours are harder or more draining or involve emotional labor that his 50 hours don't include. He pays 60% of the bills because he earns more. She pays. The definition stretches and contorts to always result in her doing less while claiming equality. 50-50 doesn't mean 50-50. It means whatever arrangement she considers fair. And fair means her preferences are met. His excess contribution is expected, unacknowledged, and certainly not counted as credit toward the 50-50 that's supposedly happening. She'll tell you she contributes equally while describing an arrangement that is wildly unequal. She'll genuinely believe it because she's counting her contributions at premium rates and his contributions at discount. Her hour of emotional support equals his 10 hours of overtime. Her suggestion to hire a handyman equals his weekend of actual handiwork. The math only works if you use her calculator, which happens to have a thumb on the scale. Let me talk about the devaluation of male contribution because this is systematic. What does a traditional man provide? Income, stability, protection, problem-solving, resource accumulation, future planning, risk absorption, physical labor. These are real contributions. They cost real effort. They have real value. Watch how they get characterized. Providing income, that's just money. Money isn't love creating stability. He's just doing what he's supposed to do. Protection. I don't need a protector. I'm not a damsel. Problem solving. He just wants to fix everything instead of listening. Every contribution he makes gets minimized, dismissed, reframed as either expected or unwanted.